Hey y'all, it's my review for the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 13 Reunion Part 2, uncensored version on Peacock, of course. So we continue the discussion between Kyle and Dorit over something that happened at the last reunion. Kyle was going back and forth with Kathy, and all Dorit did from my perspective, she just interjected and said, well, she just wants you to accept some accountability for something. And that's ironic coming from Dorit, but she was just saying that to Kyle just as a friend, and Kyle shut her down immediately, and she took that as, from her perspective, that Dorit didn't have her back. Kyle again just wanted a minion and a soldier to ride for her. Garcelle does ask Dorit at one point, do you ever just hear the other person just be like, you know what, you're right, like I understand, I hear you. And Dorit is like, Garcelle, I'm gonna defend myself if something isn't true, okay? Garcelle, being the classy lady that she is, decided to stand down at that moment instead of cursing the bitch out. Thankfully, Andy moves on, and now we're talking about Kyle's lifestyle changes that she made, starting with her sobriety. Kyle is saying that she just decided to do this change for her. It's not that she has a drinking problem. They talk about her losing weight, but the only person I really noticed to lose weight was Erika Jane, and it was obviously Ozempic. Kyle says that, hand to God, she just works out. It's not Ozempic. I always just thought Kyle was small. I never really paid attention to her weight. And then they're talking about the tattoos or whatever, and if Morgan, her secret alleged girlfriend, had any influence on her. And Dorit says, genuinely, she doesn't think so. Look, if I had a friend who quit alcohol, I'd be like, oh, okay, I mean, that's fine for you, but I'm gonna continue to go to the bars. Like, I love a nice little cocktail here and there. I love to bartend, so I have an appreciation for craft cocktails. So that's what I like to do in my spare time. So I probably wouldn't ask that friend anymore to go to the bar with me if I know they don't drink. But there are those people, and you know them, that they give up drinking, and they're kind of like vegans where they're always gotta announce, oh, I'm not drinking anymore, I'm not drinking anymore, I'm not drinking anymore, just letting y'all know. I want a mocktail, please. Like, you know, it's just kind of like a difference. Kyle makes an example that, hey, if I was being reckless, drinking and doing drugs, then yeah, we could talk about that. Sutton interjects and says, speaking of the word reckless, it was reckless what you did, implying that I'm an alcoholic as well as having an eating disorder. And I'm fully on Sutton's side about that. Like, Kyle knows what she's doing. She's smart, and she lets people do her dirty work. Like Anne-Marie. Kyle gave her that seed about Sutton's esophagus, and Anne-Marie took off and ran with it. Production then shows us 2 flashbacks of Kyle doing her insinuations about Sutton, but I remember at least 3 more times where she's done that. Kyle's defense is she never said she had an eating disorder. She never said Sutton was an alcoholic. Look, I remember when Kyle called somebody an alcoholic, and that was season 1. Now check that. But she knew what she was doing. And I agree with Sutton. Like, you insinuated that. Do you not know what insinuates mean? Kyle then tries to flip the script on Sutton, bringing up the weed dinner, asking, what did I ever do to you for you to come at me and interrogate me instead of asking me how was I doing? Well, I feel like Sutton thought Kyle wasn't being honest about what's going on in her life, and she was keeping it a secret. And she had an inkling that something was specifically wrong in her marriage. And I think Kyle tried to gaslight Sutton all season, saying that nothing was wrong in her marriage when it actually was. So if I was Sutton, I would be mad at that. And I think the fans were frustrated because we know so much about Kyle already, like the drama in her family, especially involving her sisters, but she can't talk about what's going on between her and Mauricio. And then she always crying at every season saying that, you know, oh, I just want my privacy. You're on a reality show. Just don't come back. Don't come back. But she stays wanting to be the center of attention, but she don't want to tell her business. But anywho, we get back to Sutton coming for Kyle for insinuating that she was an alcoholic. We go back to that scene where it was Crystal, Dorit, and Kyle talking about Sutton. And, you know, Dorit was like, I wouldn't be surprised if she added vodka in her coffee every morning. I mean, come on. That's something alcoholics do. I was mad at Crystal during this scene because if Sutton is your girl, then you should have said something. Like, she didn't really speak up for Sutton. Now, she went back to tell Sutton, but did she really defend Sutton in that moment? That reminded me of Real Housewives of Atlanta when Sonya was telling Candy how Courtney was talking about her. And the first thing Candy asked Sonya was like, okay, well, what did you say when she said that about me? And then, yeah, like Sonya was laughing. So, I don't know. Y'all know I don't see it for Crystal. Kyle's still trying to say she never called Sutton an alcoholic. In that moment when they were talking, she just said that Sutton seemed off. Like, was she drinking? Did she take some meds? She didn't know. Sutton was like, Kyle, you're smart. You're not gonna say that I'm an alcoholic. It's like you're playing a game of chess. And oh my God, if Sutton said you're like Bobby Fischer, that would have been such a full circle moment. Because what Kyle is doing is exactly what she accused LVP of. Damn it, Sutton, why didn't you say it? Kyle again goes back to being transparent about her marriage. She tells the ladies that I told all of you that I was having a difficult time in my marriage, which she did. But she didn't really give specifics. Dorit interrupts her, and the way Kyle looked at her, like, how dare you come for me? Look, I like that Dorit's standing up for herself when it comes to Kyle, because Kyle just sees Dorit as a work friend. So it's like, if you see me as a work friend now, then yeah, I ain't gonna have your back like a real friend. Kyle asks Sutton, what makes you so entitled to know my personal business and what's going on in my bedroom? Sutton's response is, well, we all share about our lives, and now you want to be mum about it. Kyle says that that's not true, and then she tries to pull it to Teresa when she said on that podcast, I got married on the show, I got divorced on the show, I got remarried, all that. Like she lists like all the things she's done in the 13 years that she's been on Housewives of Beverly Hills, from Portia being 2 years old to now applying for colleges, the dramas with her sisters, her family falling apart. And she tells Sutton, and what did you do? You got a dating coach and you bought a horse. She got her there. Like, she bopped her a bit. Even Sutton's reaction shows that she gagged her a bit. Did y'all agree with that though? Like, she really marginalized Sutton's role this season. I thought Sutton was definitely the MVP. She was fun, she was entertaining. She definitely brought the drama, the one-liners. Name them. Name them. I think it really just depends how you handle being in the hot seat. And Kyle being in the hot seat this year, because clearly something is going on. Your husband is doing something different as well. Like, what's going on? And you're trying to be all secretive about it. So just because you have tenure on the show doesn't mean I'm not gonna call you out when you try to be secretive all of a sudden. Ooh, they are going back and forth. Kyle's like, you expect me to spill everything. What are you doing? Sutton is like, well, we had questions and you didn't want to answer it. And she's saying the questions were legitimate because you had all these different lifestyle changes. Sorry, I'm on Sutton's side. Oh my God. Kyle again with another moment to bop Sutton with. She says, you came in this season just to come after me. Sutton's like, what? Kyle mimics her. What? Yeah, you did try to come after me. Oh man, Kyle is a little bit activated. I'll give it to her. I am Erika Jane in this situation. She couldn't even hold it in, and the other ladies were snickering too. I will say, Kyle does some really good impressions low-key. Kyle again says, all you did was buy a horse, talk about your cashmere line. So yeah, of course you're gonna try to talk about what I'm doing. Whew, well, Andy then tries to go back to the point of the conversation and ask the other ladies, do they think Kyle insinuated that Sutton was an alcoholic? Crystal says, well, more so it was Dorit that insinuated that Sutton was an alcoholic. Andy asks Dorit, do you think she has a drinking problem? She says, I don't know. I just want one of these ladies just to cop the fact that, yeah, you drink a lot, I was making a joke, I don't think you're an alcoholic. Now, sometimes people are staying 10 toes down. Bitch, I think you're an alcoholic. I said what I said. I'd probably respect Dorit more if she said that. But she says, I don't think you have a drinking problem, but I also don't know. Sutton says, well, I don't know if you have a drinking problem either, carcass out. I don't know how many carcasses on your floor at night. All Dorit can do is roll her eyes. Personally, I don't think Sutton's an alcoholic. I just think she likes to drink. I do think it's whether she brings her own mixers in her bag, though. So now we're getting to the weed dinner and all the commotion with that. I think it was Sutton and Garcelle coming at Kyle, and then the whole Denise coming at Erika. It looks like all the ladies thought that Denise's behavior was strange, especially her saying that, watch the show, when they're literally on it. Why didn't they just invite Denise to the reunion? Because in this moment, Anne-Marie, she still has not said anything 15 minutes into this. Like, why is she there? I think they talked about her way too early in part one. So now it's like, what else was she involved with during the season? I mean, she came in so damn late. We're not talking about Denise in the upside down jacket and Dorit trying to correct her. I thought it was so nice that she was on Watch What Happens Live and she came on with the upside down jacket. She was a good sport about it. So now we're on Dorit's reel and Erika saying at BravoCon that the next marriage to dissolve is Dorit and PK's. I mean, it don't seem like she's wrong. We then see in the reel like her talking to Kyle about her relationship and then the whole cringe pretty woman birthday surprise from PK. So the first question for Dorit is like the dark hair, the fashions aren't really hitting like they was when she was first on there. And he's asking, did PK put you on a budget? She's like kind of sidestepping the question a bit. As Dorit's trying to explain, we see Andy yawning and trying to cover it up with his cards. This makes the third reunion in a row where he's yawned at Dorit. I'm not sure if he did it on purpose or not, but Dorit is long-winded. Dorit says she's not on a budget by her husband. And Andy's like, so you are on a budget? She's like, no. Moving on, he then asks about the second robbery that happened in broad daylight at, I guess, a Marshall's, where she was carrying cash on her in her purse, and it was stolen. Just like the other robbery, this is also questionable. Like, why are you walking around with that much cash on you? And why did you just, like, did she just leave her basket unattended? So then, speaking of suspicious robberies, we then get to Garcelle's comment she made in her confessional. And I remember when I saw it for the first time, I was gagged because that was a good soundbite. But I was like, I know she's going to have to answer for this at the reunion. Dorit, you know, of course she's doing Garcelle. How dare you even imply? Garcelle was just like, it was just my opinion. I thought it was strange. And I think if you read between the lines of what Garcelle is saying, she said that I believe you were robbed. I just thought it was strange. When I heard all the details about the robbery, it just sounded like it was staged, like by somebody. Like, yeah, Dorit was robbed, but did PK orchestrate it? And I'm just saying allegedly. It just sounded like he pulled a Jussie Smollett. Garcelle also mentions how strange it was how nice the robbers were to her, leaving her phone by the gate. And yeah, it is strange. And then Andy does bring up, though, that phones have trackers in them. But it still doesn't change the fact that that robbery could have been orchestrated. Just saying. Garcelle does apologize to her, you know, that it hurt her. I honestly think these two ladies just don't like each other, but they're just going along to get along. And we as Bravo fans appreciate that instead of y'all just refusing to acknowledge each other like another franchise. So then they move on to a comment Sutton made about when PK was pulled over. Allegedly, there was another woman in the car. Dorit's like, where'd you get that from, Sutton? Sutton's like, well, the streets were talking. The other lady's like, the streets, Sutton? What streets? Sutton's like, well, I didn't say it was true. I just heard. Y'all didn't hear about it? So then I think it was because Dorit made a mean-spirited comment about Sutton having vodka in her coffee. So it was just tit for tat. Moving forward, y'all, is it just me or a lot of this is just kind of like filler conversations? Like, we're trying to get to the nitty-gritty. Like, what's going on in Kyle's marriage? Is she fucking Morgan or not? That's what I want to know. Like, can we move on? Can we get to Kathy? But now we're still stuck on Dorit, and we're talking about the pretty woman gag. We get it. She didn't really care for it. And the fact that the Julia Roberts commented on this, it just blows my mind. So now Andy asks Dorit like an update on how her and PK are doing. She says when filming Rap, they were in a worse place. He was staying with Boy George for a while, which just sounds random in itself. Andy asked her, so y'all were living separate lives? She's like, no, he was just staying there temporarily, but all his stuff is at our house. Andy's like, okay, semantics. Dorit will not back down. She's like, no, we were not living separate lives. Andy then asks, okay, well, how are things now? She gives like this long pause and she's like, better than ever. I don't believe that. Again, I think a little bit after part 3 premieres, like they're headed for Splitsville. We're now back to Dorit versus Kyle. In that moment, Dorit's comparing like how she shared about her marriage to Kyle, but Kyle didn't really reciprocate that information. Kyle feels like Dorit should have called her instead of waiting till the camera was up to ask her how is she doing. When Dorit tells Kyle that she was being distant, Kyle is like, well, I was going through a lot of things and I just wanted to be, by myself. I retreat and I'm alone. And Dorit calls her out and says, well, you were on Instagram and I saw you were on trips with your friends, or your friend group. I wasn't included in that. And she tells her, our husbands are friends. I know what you're doing. Judging from the looks of the ladies on the other side of the couch, I'm kind of over this conversation too. They all know the relationship between Kyle and Dorit. Dorit thinks that she's closer to Kyle than what she is. And I think that's also ironically, Sutton's thinking as well. Kyle sees the both of them as work friends. I don't blame Dorit for being upset because Kyle definitely shut her out. Finally, and thank you Garcelle for pointing out, that was a very long-winded conversation. So now we get to Erika's reel throughout the season. First with her saying that she's going to try to be zen unless someone tries to come for her. We see the comeback at the white party. The whole Vegas thing with her and Sutton being so offended. Ooh, that wasn't a good look for Sutton. But anyway, first question to her is, what does she feel about Sutton's comments on Watch What Happens Live saying that her tickets were going for $7? Now, did y'all go to her show? I just couldn't. I'm not interested. You're just going to see her lip sync anyway. But Sutton tries to defend what she was saying, and they're all just like, Sutton, come on now. You weren't defending her. It was a jab. Sutton then tells them, well, where's y'all's sense of humor? And then Andy's like, well, just say it's a joke. So then they move on. So then her next question is about her fight with Denise, and does she regret it at all? She says no. She asked for it. So of course they get to the Tom talk, and Andy's asking her about having empathy, and how does she look back on that, now she's on the other side of it. Technically on the other side of it. And she says, when you're in those legal proceedings, they tell you that you can't just be on the victim's side. I think it's just the way she navigated it. She could have definitely done it better, but personally, I still think she knew something. She wasn't completely in the dark. And speaking of the victim, she's being asked about the sit-down that she did with them. I think it was on a Hulu special. I wasn't interested, y'all. If you saw it, let me know about it in the comments and what you thought of it. But she said she did it because she wanted them to see her in person and maybe just see her rather than how they see her on reality television, which I took it as she wanted them to see her as a victim as well, which is just kind of the audacity. And then Andy wants more specifics on why did she sit down with them, and she can't answer it. See, this is what's keeping me from rocking with her. I'm really curious as to why she can't say anything. She does share that she found out that one of her paychecks were in a client's trust fund. What did that mean? Did that mean one of her Housewives checks were in a client's trust fund? Did that go over my head? I know it's early in the morning. Y'all help me out in the comments. But then she says, well, we'll all find out, when the trial starts. And I can't wait either, because clearly the coop was caught faking the funk, and he's actually cognizant to stand trial. And speaking of that, she's being asked, well, how does that work? He's competent for the court, yet he's still on mental decline. And y'all remember that season when shit hit the fan, how hard Erika was going for Tom, saying that, oh, he's definitely on a mental decline. So then Crystal says, my father had Alzheimer's and I work with the association, and it just sounds weird. After Crystal says this, Erika's like, I don't know what Crystal's trying to say, whether he's faking it or not, but she might as well just say that. This was Crystal's time to say, yes, I think he's faking it, and he's faking it as well. But we know Crystal ain't gonna do that. She says, no, I'm just saying I don't know, and it just was surprising to me. She skirted around the issue. I think we all knew that Tom was faking it. They got a divorce to protect her. Come on now. Again, that's the real Erika peeking out, even though she had a good season. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about. So they go on break, they're still on the couch, and we see Garcelle talking to Crystal. Yeah, I knew what you meant. And by this time, he would have been progressing, so someone's lying. And Crystal's like, yeah, then it would be her lying. Why didn't you say that? Anywho, so then on break, we found out that Kathy Hilton is there arriving. Some of the ladies didn't even know that. Oh, and there she is arriving the set. Why is Kathy there? Like the way Bravo just coddles Kathy Hilton, it's kind of strange to me. So then we cut to Kathy getting her makeup done, and she's being interviewed by a messy producer, and she's being asked about Kyle, her relationship with Mauricio, and she's giving a little bit of tease, saying that Kyle has been on this track for the past 3 to 4 years. They've been going in different directions. And she acknowledges that she probably shouldn't have said that, but she did. So we're back on stage, and the next was dedicated to Sutton throughout the season, from her Magic Mike meltdown, how she treated her gay minion, her fight with Kyle all throughout the season, and like getting her independence and, you know, sharing that with her daughter. So her first question goes to the Magic Mike meltdown. If you didn't expect to get on stage, why did you wear pants? Because, you know, she was complaining about it. And why did you bring a wad of ones? She said she brought the ones to share with the other ladies, but after the fact, she didn't realize that it was like more so like a cabaret or Broadway production, because, you know, I've been to a lot of strip clubs, and Magic Mike, that's more so just like, you know, you see them just dancing on stage. You don't expect them to get money thrown at them. She's still standing by the fact that the simulation of cunnilingus, who uses that word, offended her. Like, Sutton, just take your L for that. And thankfully, it was at the beginning of the season. No one hardly remembers it. They then talk about when she saw Erika's friend on the elevator and how she thought it was staged, and the other ladies were saying that's impossible that she did. I mean, knowing Erika and how petty she is, I'm not surprised Sutton thought that. So now Sutton is blaming her Magic Mike meltdown for going through something in private and finding out that her ex-husband is moving to London. He wanted her to move to London as well as her kid. Well, their kid. And speaking of that topic, Sutton's talking about her independence she feels she gained from her husband, I think because of the show. And then she goes back to Kyle, saying that the comment she made earlier that all she talked about was a cashmere and a horse really hurt her feelings. Ooh, I knew that comment stung. Just from her reaction. Kyle's explanation is Sutton was being all in her business while she didn't want to talk about her own. And, you know, she was kind of just joking, but she still doesn't apologize to Sutton for it. So then Andy moves on to asking Sutton about her alimony, you know, the $300,000 a month, after taxes. After taxes. I'm not sure why it's being framed that Sutton was gloating when Andy was the one who brought it up to her. She just confirmed it. I'm even more confused why Andy is asking Anne-Marie her opinion on that. Because, look, we have 5 more minutes left on this reunion. This is the first time Anne-Marie spoke. Well, I'm from a world where we don't talk about money. I have very wealthy friends, but we still don't talk about money like that. Collins then asked about her comments in the interview where she said she was taking a break from Sutton. She said it was from some things that she heard from Sutton in interviews, and then Sutton throws right back at her like, when the cameras came on, you weren't that good of a friend to me either. And looking back at the season, Kyle did throw a lot of subtle jabs at Sutton. I just think they have the perfect frenemy relationship. Sutton's trying to talk about her intentions, but then Kyle brings up the weed dinner yet again and how she tried to put her on blast about Mauricio. And then Sutton starts with the semantics saying, I didn't say anything about your marriage. She looks at Garcelle, and Garcelle was the one that said specifically Kyle's marriage. Her marriage. So now they get to the Naimum conversation. I think it was a lot of Kyle's insinuations coming out from that argument. And she's again trying to say that she didn't call her an alcoholic. She didn't say she had an eating disorder. Something about her foot too. Was she on pills and stuff like that? They're going back and forth. Sutton's trying to drill it to Kyle that it's the insinuation that you're doing. It's not okay. Sutton then says, you have been relentlessly mean to me. Kyle's like, where? As the credits are rolling. And then Sutton says, well, as Denise said, watch the show. And that is where the episode ends. So there were glimmers of good moments on part 2, but a lot of it was filler. So I'm expecting on the next episode, like, some revelations. Is Morgan her girlfriend or not? What is the relationship? What does Kathy have to say? And who was Sutton looking at that made her go into, like, shock? You know what? I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize. I was not trying to mimic Sutton. I was just trying to make a point a visual one. Anyway, that was the episode, y'all. Y'all let me know what y'all thought of it. Whose side are y'all on? And will Anne-Marie talk in the next episode? I don't really care. But yeah, with that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you for part 3. Bye.